So yesterday I watched Iceberg Slim Portrait of a Pimp on Prime, and it was pretty amazing to me. So Iceberg Slim is a pimp that wrote a series of books that were very poetic, and it gave you a clear insight of the pimp lifestyle. Not just that, but it gave how he even went into that position, life events that affected him, that created him into that pimp, and his self reflection on it. And I thought it was pretty amazing. So Iceberg Slim real name is Bobby. So I'm gonna just call him by Bobby because that's easier to pronounce. He also a Leo Cancer Moon, maybe. I will put it up on the screen. Um, it's real interesting that his name is Bobby and he's a Leo. But I seen so like even at the beginning of the documentary, cause I never heard of him before and I never read any of his books. But guess what? I'm going to read them. I'm actually very excited about it. And I think that it is a must read for a lot of women. I think it's important to know this psychology, especially as a woman, to either protect yourself or create some type of understanding. When it comes to men, one very important aspect that was pointed in the documentary is that he wrote the book for redemption. He wasn't proud of his pimp lifestyle. And he was saying that if you are street poison, your perception is going to be warped. Because the person was like, a lot of people had read your book and wanted to be a pimp, wanted to live that lifestyle. I thought it was interesting how Bobby took what the interviewer said and went even deeper because he was like, um, yeah, I know that some of them think that they could just get the glitz and the glamour part of the story and leave out all the ugly parts, but gain all the power. And he said that is ignorant. It's ignorant for you to think that, because that lifestyle is going to lead you down that path. And he gave other examples of mentors that he grew up with, that he's seen as father figures, who taught him the game that he mastered. And they all are dead or in prison. And I wanted to talk about it because the reason why he say that is because what it takes to be a pimp is very hard on the spirit. So, let's talk about it. Now, I'm doing things differently. Um, I'm going to pull cards on questions that I had, like about his mother. I wanted to know more of her perspective because at parts in the documentary, I felt like in a lot of ways they kind of demonized her, and put a lot of blame on her, even though later in life, Bobby got to a place that he wanted to prove to his mom that he loved her. He felt like that would heal himself. So before she passed away, he forgave her. But when we look at it, because I started reading the book Pimp, And I was thinking about like, should I do a series like reading the book and then talking about it? If y'all would like that, let me know. But um, what I ended it at is the part where his mom left a dude that he adored. Cause this dude was a real father figure in his life. He called this man dad, even though he wasn't his biological dad. He also felt like if his mom stayed with him, that he would have had a different life. And I thought that was really interesting. Now, Chris Rock was one of the people talking in this, and he was just like, basically, like his mom fucked up his life. Like, if she would have just stayed with this dude, he would have had a better life. Now, I think that Chris Rock is kind of deeper than that, but that's just like the part that they edited in. But in the book, he described the man as ugly. It's not funny, but he described him as ugly and big. He was stable, like financially stable, and he loved them. He loved Bobby and he loved his mama. Gave her everything that she wanted. But she ended up meeting this other guy who I think they just call Slick. So just call him Slick. And she ended up running off with this other guy, and this other guy beat her and abused her in every type of way and used her. And when she had left the abuser, they was in extreme poverty. So, you know, I had a few thoughts about it. I was like, well, um, if the guy was ugly, even though he was stable, cause I dated dudes. Well, I'm thinking of one specific dude. That when I first met him, I didn't think he was cute, but when I got to like know his personality, he became so fine to me, or whatever. But there's certain things that I knew, like if he was shorter than me or something like that, like I don't think the personality probably would have worked. But maybe sometimes I thought a lot about not sometimes, all the times, I thought a lot about providing stability and a father figure in home for my daughter when I was a single mother. That was so I thought about my partners in that aspect. And younger, I had my daughter when I was 17, and when I was like 19, I got engaged and everything. And I was not really into the relationship. I just knew that this guy loved me and he wanted to settle down with me. But I didn't want that. I started being distant and disconnected. I started to wonder, like, is it better out there? So, even though from a man perspective, they may not be able to understand why would she do something like that. She should have just stayed with him. But sometimes I wonder, like, hold on, am I recording? Okay, sometimes I wonder, like, if it was the other way around, like a man with a really good woman, but she's ugly. It's like I feel like they would better understand like why he cheated or left her and stuff like that. I guarantee you. So, But I'm not gonna make this into misogyny and sexist, even though that was strongly emphasized in the series. So maybe I do have to talk about it. But yeah, when it comes to readings, I want to have more integrity when it comes to it. I want to make sure I set better boundaries. Um, have good, pure intentions or whatever like that. Cause um, I don't want to be like ruthless with it. I don't want to do that. I also want to put my intuitive gifts to better use towards not just I could maybe provide healing for anybody watching directly or indirectly. So I always kept that energy. That always been a part of my energy, but it's even more so now. So I want to ask the cards though. Um, I'm just gonna name him Father because I don't remember his name. Even though he do, and he put the name in the book, but I don't quite remember. I want to know more about the mother. Now, the mom wasn't like a bad person. She just made some mistakes in life. Why I'm shuffling these cards though? Let's talk about the fact that he was sexually assaulted. And it's so common for sexual abuse, especially in the black community. Um, and in a lot of ways, socially, economically, I feel like that has been created. So, when he was 3, his mom had a babysitter and she will force him to give her oral. Now, he can't even remember the woman's face, but he do remember the abuse. His neck hurting, his face being shoved into her hairy stank vajayjay, trifling, and her climaxing off of this 3-year-old. He did put extra details in it, which I really appreciate. This woman, she was a widow, older woman. He couldn't remember what she looked like, but it's like you got the energy of she was lonely, um, and desperate, trifling ass. I want to ask about her too. Also, um, I know that it's slightly changed today, but sometimes I feel like people talks about change, but it's not really implemented. So I do feel like we have to take male sexual assault more seriously because it do damage them. And I know a lot of times in the black community, like if a guy was to lose his virginity early or being molested by a woman, it's kind of like you can't complain about it. You can't say that it's traumatizing. You have to say that you like it. If you don't, then it will take away from your masculinity. they treat it like it's something that you should be proud of because your young male body was abused. I guess it's supposed to mean that you was able to get women even when you was younger. And it's sad and disgusting. I wish I did have a sign in a bit. I ain't gonna even go there. So, yeah. But I was also watching a show. I can't remember the name, but if I could find it, then I would put it on the screen. And it was showing the difference of how a woman going to the police and reporting a rape and the difference when a male gay person went to the police and said that he was raped. They didn't take him seriously, and they also made him feel shame for even coming to report it. Even though it traumatized him, people made his trauma seem like it wasn't even real. And a lot of times I see black women be treated like that too. Black people in fucking general. Alright, let's get into the mama. Alright, so I'm asking, why did the mom leave father? Like, why did she leave him? And I pulled the Ten of Cups reverse. She wasn't emotionally fulfilled. And with this Page of Cups reverse, I also think he was bad in the bedroom. And I'm talking about awkwardly bad. She wasn't fulfilled, man. It's like all the cards came out reversed except for her Queen of Wands. I believe she was young at that time, and she was like, she might even be a fire sign, but it was like she was craving for that sexual energy, but something that really satisfies her. Um, to be real, I don't think that's like the first time she cheated, and it was almost kind of um like the dude knew. It's just kind of like he settled, cause I think like his mom probably was out of his league, um, in a superficial way, like when it comes to looks and all of that. I'm even hearing like chatter, like people talking about it, like people saying how they wasn't really a match, just when it comes to looks alone. And but it's like the guy, I'm gonna pull some cards for him in a minute. So let's stay on her for a little while. I don't remember how young his mom was at the time, but at this particular time when she was with this guy, it's just the energy of not being ready for that. she knew she was settling, but she did want more. Damn, sounds just like my story. But this is what I'm really channeling. It do sound a lot like my story though, or whatever, but that's what it is. Cause I got the Seven of Swords here, so I feel like she been sneaking around. But it's I feel like the dude knew, but they didn't really like talk about it. But it was like a unspoken truth. Like maybe she would come home late and he just even wouldn't really question her about it or stand up for himself because he didn't want her to leave. I also get the energy that she felt like he didn't really have no backbone. Like he didn't really stand up for himself, speak his mind, speak how he truly feel about things, and he let things, disrespectful things, go on for a minute. So it was like she was so turned off by it. She was so turned off by it. And I'm almost feeling like this rage, like this hunger. It like it created a deep sexual hunger. Oh my goodness. Now this shit is crazy. She manifested the dude Slick. She manifested him because her dissatisfaction with this guy, father, she also felt shame about it. But it's like she manifested that energy in a physical form in her life. And it wasn't good to her because of the way she treated this part of herself. It's like she was ashamed of her sexual energy, and I feel like that was all her life, all that life. Like I'm starting to see her. I'm starting to see her. But she's saying it was a different time. It was a different era. So feminine sexual energy was definitely inhibited or um made to feel ashamed of. And I'm also seeing the connection of this energy to some of the women that her son ended up pimping. Okay, so let's get into the father. I'm starting to see him too. um Tell me about him, like during this time, like his perspective. The Emperor reverse and the Hierophant reverse. He was gentle, like he kind of in a lot of ways allowed himself to be emasculated. It was a spiritual aspect to this, really deep. The way I feel like Bobby mom might have been deep in some spiritual way, maybe even an intellectual. But it was something about her that he felt almost like she was a goddess. Um and he didn't really feel good enough for her. That's why he kind of just let her do whatever. He wanted to get her pregnant. I feel like he was trying and she knew that. It's like he was letting her do what she want until he was able to get her pregnant, because he thought that would make her stay. He also knew that he wasn't satisfying her sexually. He didn't, with this Emperor reverse, he did have like low self-esteem. He had low self-esteem, but he's seeing her like, look at all these major arcanas. His feelings was major for her. He really did kind of like feel like she was like this type of goddess that was way out his league, that he was really lucky to even have her. So he just kind of like let her do what she wanted, and he thought like the more that he give, she would stay. She would stay. How did he feel when she left him? Hold on, organizing the cards. How did father feel? He tried to get her back. He tried to make her stay. Like, he was super romantic. He tried to get her to stay. He really did plead to her. With this Knight of Cups and Two of Cups, he plead. Like, please. Please don't leave me. I got the Ten of Pentacles reverse. Jeez. Knight of Pentacles reverse. I'm gonna get some clarifiers for these last 3 cards, because what I'm getting is that with this Ten of Pentacles reverse, like, he really felt like his whole dream was shattered. I was really looking for the Death card, because that's what he feels like. But it was like he knew that this would happen. I feel like somebody maybe even told him that. He felt really lucky to get with her in the first place. And he knew part of the reason, he knew that she was in a vulnerable position because of her son. Like, he knew that. Okay, how did he feel when she left him? He might have felt suicidal with this, I feel like, giving up. He did try to get her to stay. Even though he tried to get her to stay, it's kind of like at some point he just like you know what, you gonna leave me, I'm just gonna have to deal with it. But it did change him. um it's like he put more effort into making money, so he might have like gained more in finances, but it was hard for him to let anyone close to him after that. Now in the book, Bobby mentioned early grave. So like I see sadness here, but I felt like it just like he refocused his energy. But I'm curious to know, like, did he kill himself? Did he die young, early? If he did, then what of? Cause I'm kind of feeling like Bobby later on in life tried to look for this man. All right, so I'm gonna get some cards about the slick dude. All right, so when it comes to the slick dude, I believe he made a lot of promises to her. But when she first started to be with him and interact with him, she felt the sun. Like, she really felt happy with him at first. You know, that new love phase or whatever. She got lost in it. It's like she got lost in the light. That's exactly what this card looked like. But it felt really good to her. And he tried to make it seem that he was like this King of Pentacles. So she didn't fully know what she was getting herself into, because this slick dude became like everything that she wanted, that she thought she wanted. Well, she couldn't see it at first because he was wearing a mask. I also feel like he pushed things really quick with her. Like, he constantly pushed her to leave this guy. He constantly pushed her deeper into the, because he was trying to move it along quickly. Because he wanted to use her, and he justified a lot of his actions. um I'm even seeing times that he beat her and be like, well, you left him, so why wouldn't you leave me, or something like that. But that was always a tactic. He was aware of that tactic since the beginning. He was gonna use that against her. So he like pushed her. It was like a whirlwind romance type thing. And she just got lost in it. But to her, she thought it was real because he was wearing a false mask. So with this justice card, I'm feeling like it's next to the Eight of Wands as well. So it's like he told her that he loved her extremely quickly. He was really passionate, told her that she's everything that he ever wanted, and that he want to run off with her and everything. Like, he fed this to her. Like, she did have reserves, but At that point in her life, she didn't learn, she didn't know, like, she just didn't know. It's like a lesson that she had to learn. She didn't know she was getting played. But she did have the strength to leave him, which is because I feel like his mom, Bobby's mom, she was a powerful spirit within herself. So I do believe she felt regretful. I do see her trying to contact the guy afterwards, and she's either not able to or he was dismissive of her. Okay, so let's go back to the story. So after this, so at this point, he has already experienced being sexually assaulted by an older woman. The disappointment that he felt from his mom by pulling him away from a man that wanted to be a father to him, that loved him, and he also loved. So she goes with this slick dude, and this slick dude beats and mistreat her savagely. She leaves him, and now they are out in the street, very, very poor. Um, no, 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 no. I think I'm messing it up because I'm thinking about when he was a baby. So let's go back even more. His father offered to marry his mom, and his mom was a part of a family with a lot of kids. So she went off to marry this man, and I'm not sure if he's a white man or not, but she went off to marry this man. He gets her pregnant, and then he tells her that he don't want to have the child and she should leave the child at the steps of the Catholic Church. And she said no. So his father took him and slung him against the wall when he was a baby, and then left them. And then at that point, they were extremely poor, and she took care of them. Then she met that dude, then she met the other dude, and then she leave that dude. And I believe that she might still have her salon at this point. So she went back to taking care of them. So at this point, he is angry. He done been through all this trauma in his life. He is angry at this point. He's very smart. He said that school was really easy for him, that he would daydream in class and still get A's. He ended up getting a scholarship to go to this university. But at this point, he said that he was street poison, which is that he was influenced, heavily influenced by that street lifestyle. So he started hanging out with other people who was street poison. And I believe he dropped out of school. He got into some trouble, was sent to a I believe something that's like a juvie boarding school. Within that, he also experienced a lot of trauma. Now, they didn't really, in the documentary, go deep into the trauma that he experienced being there, but he did. And within that boarding school, he learned a lot from multiple people of how to be a pimp. So, he said that his main goal and vision, he wanted to be like God. And he felt like he was hungry for that power. And to him, nothing was as more powerful as controlling a bunch of women, making them sell their bodies to pay you. He was very disciplined. He had a technique when it came to it. He had a persona when it came to it. So he was good at it. He was a Leo. You could see a Leo, and even if they not like the cutest person you ever seen or whatever, they still carry that energy. So, but what was interesting in the documentary, they broke down some of the ways of how he would manipulate the women because it was a technique and it had a lot of psychology in it. So, when it comes to street women, they already on been through a lot in life. And when you have like a lot of experience, it makes you extremely wise. It don't make you all knowing or anything, cause sometimes you probably hurting people cause you hurt, yada yada yada. So you probably toxic as fuck. But they will have street smarts, and when you street smart, you're a little harder to fool. So he had to be able to navigate that. Now, he did say that one of his lessons that helped him to be a better pimp is coming across this older woman when he was young. And he felt like this woman pimped him. I don't believe that she had him selling his body or whatever, but he was so in love with her, like mentally, she was a challenge for him. So she had him wrapped around her finger. What was her name? I'm gonna ask about her. Pepper Ibbets. So yeah, let's get into that. Alright, so Pepper Ibbets. So she was a very adventurous person. It's like she wasn't afraid to take any leaps, to be on a go. She could quickly jump up and switch locations. Uh, it kind of reminds me of like, hold on. Oh, shoot, my bad, y'all. The mic was up. Hope y'all heard that, but I was basically saying that she was very adventurous. She didn't like to be locked down or held down or restricted. It kind of reminds me of Sagittarius energy. I do feel like she put on a exterior of being like this Queen of Swords, being like very logical, but also people kind of felt like she was cold, especially when it comes to means of money. But I feel like at the time that she met Bobby, she was having some financial issues, but she might have tried to make it seem like she didn't. She might have tried to hide it, but it was almost like a technique of keeping up appearances because it's like she knew that people would respect her more. She had a personality that seemed outgoing, but in a lot of ways she was very introverted, and she liked it to spend time alone. She might have been an introvert because I feel like she needed time to recharge. And I feel like in a lot of ways to Bobby, that made her more desirable because he had like that aspect within himself as well. So, but she might have been like a bit more strategic with it, like taking away time. Yeah, she was. This is how he learned those methods and why they work because he actually experienced it. Like through her, he learned um manipulation. Even when she wasn't trying to, some ways in her personality, but it's like he knew the mechanics of it because he thought about things in that way. And I understand because I do the same thing. But she would take time away from him, and that would make him long for her more. A part of me felt like it was her personality, but a part of me felt like it was strategic. Through most of her life, she was looking for emotional fulfillment. Even though she put on this mask of like the Queen of Swords, being cold, isolated, um, intellectual. Deep down inside, she was a Queen of Cups reverse, very emotional, didn't really know how to set up healthy boundaries. She would get hurt easily, but it's like she would show it in like an unhealthy way, or she would become even more manipulative. But let me tell you why, because in her energy, you could feel like her trauma. So the reason why she was manipulated, it was her form of survival. I'm actually feeling like she was in a long-term relationship at one point that um taught her a lot about business, a lot about getting money. It's like she was a student when it comes to getting finances or making people give her money. because she knew how to make men give her money. But I believe that aspect was taught to her by a man. Maybe she was a prostitute at one point. I'm not sure if they said that or not in the documentary, but that's what I'm feeling. Yeah, because, and I believe she was a prostitute maybe for a minute, to the point that her body was really tired. She just couldn't take no more. That's why she was learning other ways to make money. I'm seeing that she may have even went off and created like a, damn, what you call it, brothel or something. Like she might have became a pimp to other women. Yeah, at the time, or this could be later in life, but she did have like a constant problem of losing a lot of money. Like she might make a lot but spend it so quickly to the point that she is at rock bottom all over again. But it was like something that she was just so used to. Yeah, I don't think that she was good with money. Maybe making it, but not good at managing it and saving it and investing in things that really matter. Hope this thing recorded. She was very creative, like in a sexual way, with this Eight of Swords reverse and Queen of Wands reverse. With this Queen of Wands reverse, she did come off as selfish at times, like maybe even sexually, like, and that might have even been strategic too. Like she would climax and be done. Like she wouldn't care about giving you sexual pleasure. It was kind of like, yeah. I kind of want to see like BDSM, but no, it's not the same energy as BDSM. It's similar though, but it's a different energy. I'm not really sure how to explain it. Oh, okay. With this Hierophant card, I'm starting to understand. It's like men will pay her to teach them how to please a woman sexually. That's what I'm getting. And she really liked it. That she enjoyed that. She had trouble with keeping friends, especially female friends. I'm hearing that she may even been like sexist, misogynistic, like mean to other women, or maybe even felt like women was weak in some ways, but she had trouble with getting along with women or trusting them. But she was well traveled. Like, even if it's like just in the US, I feel like she traveled quite a bit. maybe even cross seas. She really do give me like Sagittarius type energy. Um, but she did have like a lot of knowledge. She was cultured. But she always was looking for love. But it's like she didn't really know how to receive it. She thought that she had to play games in order to receive love from men. She felt like she had to play them. And for a long time, she tied that into love. Shoot, she might have. I'm feeling like it might have been like that all through her life. Like, she felt like you love her if you, but she had to like manipulate you into being like obsessed with her, and then she would perceive that as love. Very interesting. Very interesting. Like, so, and it's just, the reason why it's so interesting is because I could really see how he learned from this. I feel like people are created. Like, when you, especially after somebody has died and passed away and you go over their life, you could really see how they was created, how things and experiences came into their life to push them down a certain path. Because I think that the fact that he had to write those books, nobody could have did it like he did. Like, that was his purpose of even incarnating here. And you could tell when you have a piece of art or something that holds that vibration, because long after the person passed away, people are still intrigued with this piece of art. Like, that's how you know that you left something that carries like a very high purposeful vibration. Like, yeah, because that book was so influential to people. It had an influence on them, and not just that, but um, you could tell that he knew that too. That he was meant to go through those experiences just to write those books. That's the reason why he forgave his mom. Because he understood, like, he had to go through that experience. If she would have just stayed with that man or whatever, he may have never wrote that book. But usually there's all types of paths that we could take, but so I'm asking how did Pepper feel about Bobby, and I almost want to call it love. She had feelings for him. Major feelings with this tower right here. It was kind of like unexpected, but she might not have really shown it. Like, hmm. Like with this, I have plenty of options, but I only want you. I am willing to compromise. Well, I didn't see that with a life changing moment. She felt kind of hard for him, and it was like unexpected for her. But she felt like to keep him and all of that, she had to control him. So, and I could see this with his Seven of Swords. So she was a bit manipulative towards him, but she did love him. I know I'm being deceptive, but it's the only way for me to gain control. She did love him, but she felt like she had to control him to, because it's almost like she felt like she didn't have control over the man, that it was going to start mistreating her, beating her, taking from her. So she had to gain control first. Mm. She wanted to run away from him several times because she was afraid that she loved him. And she sees a lot of potential in him with this King of Pentacles. People like that. I'm practical and accountable. I'm wealthy and generous with my family and close friends. People come to me for answers. He carried this energy and she recognized it in him, and that made her fall in love with him. But damn, that's crazy. And then at the bottom of the deck is the sun. Okay, let me get some cards of how did he feel about her. Which he said he was already crazy about her. He did love her, but he started to feel used pretty quickly. Like, it was a painful experience for him. I believe that he could feel that she loved him too, but she was kind of cold about it. And it was hard. It was heartbreaking for him to walk away, but he had to. With this, I'm so burnt out, I need a vacation. Like, he got burnt out dealing with her because it was like she was constantly having him give and give and give and give and give without, she was breadcrumbing him. I feel like that made him mad. That's when he started to build a mentality of, I ain't never gonna let a woman play me like that ever again. Hmm. All right. So let's go back to the story. So after dealing with this woman, Pepper, he went off and he actively looked for mentors, people that he wanted them to be his father figure, and he even said that. So he did come across a dude named Baby Bell, which was a pimp, and he taught him the game, and Baby Bell was good at it too. I remember in one part of the documentary he said that um, Baby Bell told him that it was like the psychology and the sociology of the group and the dynamic of the women. So he Bobby had a experience with a woman that she was new, which he would consider like, is this damn mic down? Okay, yeah. He would consider her like she had low mileage, she was very pretty, and she would make him a lot of money. Now, this woman, Baby Bell warned him about women that are confident. That's why you gotta break them down. when it came to their mentalities as a pimp. Because anytime that the women become confident, they will stop wanting to like live that life, or they will not respect you. So, Baby Bell taught him how to control his penis, and that was actually very powerful. Told him that make sure you keep your dick to yourself when dealing with these women because it's power in that. He said that he wanted to be like God, and it's difficult to touch or even see God. So he pulled away from them in that manner in order to have more control. Baby Bell also told him like, oh, you could never fall in love with the women and don't ever like show them any type of weakness, show them any type of affection or anything like that. So, and it's all the psychology is to keep the women broken so they will continue this rat race, being in this cycle. So the girl was like trying to entice him, but he knew that it was almost like a mental game because she like called out the window to him and was like, "Is you gonna come see me? I haven't seen you in a while." And she did this in front of the other women. So to him, he knew the psychology of the other women who was witnessing it. So he had to make sure he gained power over her in that moment. So I'm trying to get the story right. So it's like he dissed her or whatever. He dismissed her and was like, you know, bitch this, whatever. Because, you know, pimps talk to them very disrespectfully, but it's because they have to continually break the women. It's a part of the whole dynamic of being a pimp, okay? Now, she felt embarrassed and hurt by what he said to her, and she was basically like, you know, I don't have to be treated like this, like I'm finna leave. And he told her, even though in his mind he was like, I can't lose her, like she gonna make me more money than anybody here, so she's valuable to me, but he couldn't let her know that. That's why I think that it's important for women to read this book so you can understand when these tactics are being used on you. All right? Peep game. Peep game. So, he told her, like, I don't care. Leave. You replaceable. I ain't never sweat no bitch. And he was like, matter of fact, I get you a ticket and send you on your way. So in return, the woman, like, because she was young, beautiful, low mileage, she could have left and went to another pimp or something like that. But one of his tactics was to, because he said at some points he treated the women good, even though he beat them, abused them, keep their self-esteem low, manipulated them, and all of that. But he was good at controlling his business. He was good at protecting them. Um, he was never fair with them, but more fair than other pimps around. So in his area, he was the best pimp to be under. If you was gonna be under anybody, you should be under him. So she started to beg him to stay. And he told her that she had to give him some money and then he consider it. And she gave him some money and he was like, all right, you could stay. So, do I want to pull cards on Baby Bell? Not really. Um, Even though I think that he's an interesting character, like, I feel like if I read the book, I'll probably just learn more about his life and stuff. But what I'm trying to put cards on is parts that's not in the books, which is usually perspectives that Bobby is not aware of, like his mother. So, what else? I did take notes. He also said something very interesting. He said that the women was enticed by his phony charisma and gave them a sense of importance by being associated with him. So, he said that when he was a pimp, he had to be cold. He couldn't show emotion, you know, laugh at no jokes or nothing. You couldn't show no weakness to the women ever, which they are always looking for it. He also described women as cunning, which was very interesting because it put me in the energy to think about feminine energy. And you also have to understand, like, these are women who had rough lives. They also are very street smart because they had to survive. So, yes, these women, if they could find a way to get out of whatever hell loop that they in, they was going to take that opportunity. So I could see how some of these women who wanted to be in a position of, like, maybe they pimp favored them or loved them, then that way, instead of just being a hoe, you will be a girlfriend or something like that. So, but you also have to think about the mentality that that creates. So when you have like a whole bunch of women, polygamy, whatever, pimping, polygamy, when you favor one of the women, that is going to cause a disconnect. And that can lead to, damn, what's that word? Where like the pirates turn on the leader or something. Um, I want to look it up. Hold on. It's called mutiny. And for a pimp, that could become deadly. Um, One thing that Ice Cube said, no, Ice T, he said that it's easier to be a drug dealer than it is to be a pimp because that bag of coke cannot get up and stab you or kill you. Like, one of the women who, for whatever reason, want revenge for you, which is, there is plenty of reasons. The way that these pimps treat these women are horrible. He said that at one time that the girl was working the corner. She came back with just $50. And, he beat her and all of that. He was mad about it. And she said that she was on her period and that she's not feeling well. And he told her that, she should have worked her mouth harder. So they had like a lack of compassion and empathy, and it was on a very deep, like robotic level, because it was like a part of the game, because they was like surviving in their own way. You had to like break these women and have control of them so they don't turn on you or something like that. They would be afraid to turn on you. So let's go on to the next part of the story. I also thought it was interesting at the fact that he said that he called himself a psychopath, and he said he would get such a thrill, like a high, for having power and control over these women and even beating them. He said he would get a high from beating them. They also mentioned a story how with one girl, he would beat her and then he would hold her like a baby. He felt like he was a father figure to these women. Don't this sound familiar? Yes, it does. It sounds very familiar. Um, so you could see this a lot of times. I wouldn't be surprised if Alihio read this book. This is something he would be into, and he's not original at all, so he probably he can't even get the perspective that Bobby was trying to show when he wrote the book. Even though at the very my goodness, it's getting late, y'all. Even though at the very beginning of the book, he clearly states how he has a disdain for that lifestyle. He's not writing it to make it glamorous. He writing it as like a warning and for redemption, because he wanted to be able to forgive himself. So even though he started the book out like that, some people will read it and only see what they want to see. Some people will read it and only see the glamour and not all the harshness of it. So he say like, because these are broken women. And if they wasn't broken before, they become broken in that lifestyle. He said that a lot of these women were looking for fathers. Because a lot of people will question, like, how do you get a woman to sell her body and then give you her money? It's because he feeding off of insecurity. He feeding off of a part of them that is hurting and want to be loved and want a father. So by him being able to manipulate that part of them, he could get these women to do anything that he tell them to do. That also sounds familiar. Whew. Okay. So, December 1945, he goes to prison. So, when he was in prison, he met this psychologist that was doing studies on pimps. And this psychologist believed that pimps have a hatred for their mother. Also sounds familiar. And that brought him to a new awareness just about himself and his relationship with his mother and why he do some of the things that he do. But that was just the seed being planted. It took other factors, and I'm going to talk about them right now. So, 1947, he escaped from prison. And when he escaped from prison, he went back to the streets. He went back to pimping. He also had a drug habit. He was a heroin addict. Or maybe it was coke, or maybe it was both. Okay, but he had a drug habit. And his life was like spinning out of control. He was operating like a brothel or something like that. And it got raided. And he went back to jail. So when he went to prison, the first 9 months, they put him in solitary confinement. Now, to me, solitary confinement is inhumane. It's devastating to the spirit. It really drives people crazy. They have you in this small room for months on end. They don't give you books, they don't give you much of anything. It's really, matter of fact, I want to go deeper into this because it's important. I'm going to quickly break down. First, I'm gonna find something, but I'm gonna break down solitary confinement. I'm gonna try to do it in a way that y'all can feel it. Alright, so solitary confinement is that you is confined to one cell 23 hours a day. And for the time that you are put in solitary confinement, like for him, it was 9 months, you cannot have any contacts with humans. Studies have shown that solitary confinement creates long term issues like post traumatic stress syndrome, PTSD, because it's a traumatic experience. Um, it could also make you crazy because not only is you taken away from other humans, social contacts, or whatever, but you are in a cell 23 hours a day. So you will only get an hour to be outside or something like that. It really is torturous. Um, I'm trying to like, I don't think I could really explain it as well as I want to, but Bobby said that he had to do things to strengthen his mind to keep him from going crazy. Also, while he was in solitary confinement, he was breaking a drug habit because he was put back in prison and they automatically gave him 9 months solitary confinement. He said that within that time, because he had to become very creative, he had to create conversations with himself, he had to become very creative in his mind in order to be able to survive it. He said that one of his major ambitions was to not be broken by that system. When he was in there, he made a decision to never do drugs again and to never do pimping again. He also, that seed that was planted his first time in prison was coming back and it was growing over that time. He started to really go within himself and find out why he do things the way he do, understanding himself on a deeper level in order to heal himself. He also understood that he needed to forgive his mother because he was reflecting in his life in a way that he started to connect the dots to see the full picture. That is also the time that he started to become a writer, because to keep his mind sane, he had to do something, so he wrote. And that's how he discovered like how poetic he is and how much of a good storyteller he is. So that's when his talent manifested. So later he said that it's a horrible thing to go through and experience, but he's thankful for it because it helped him to find himself. So when he was in prison, his mother was dying. And he said that he had to make it to her and convince her that he loved her, not just for her, but for himself. Now, when I was looking at the rest of Bobby's life, I could still see that a lot of times he was still operating out of his traumas, but he was very wise. Um, hmm. Let's talk about some of those points because I also want to do readings on some of those points. And it's getting kind of long, so I'm gonna try to go a little quicker. All right, so he did get out of prison. He was able to go to his mom, and she even got better. So he was able to spend even more time with her. And during that time, he genuinely loved her. His mom told him that he should get married and have kids. And he took that wholeheartedly. He met a woman that I can't remember her name. This is his first wife. And I definitely believe that she's a soulmate and it was contracted for them to meet. But I did have some problems with even how she was viewed, because a lot of times I was seeing like the lack of empathy for the women, a lack of understanding for them throughout the documentary. So he met this woman. When he met her, she was 4 months pregnant. She found out when she went on a date with him, and she was drinking and got super sick, went to the hospital, and then they told her that she was pregnant. And she was like, how I'm gonna be able to do this? And he said that he would take care of her, and they got married. And then they had 3 more children together, and two, 3 of them was girls. So, which he felt was karmic in a way. Now, he didn't have a job record. He had went to prison, so he probably was a felony at this point. So they was very poor at a point. And he never, like through his whole life, he never worked like a hard labor job. And even though pimping ain't easy, but pimps stay pretty. He also, even when he was working as a exterminator, which when his wife was speaking, she said he absolutely hated, but he would get dressed up every day. Like, people always said that he was immaculate. That's the word that they usually use. So, she used to listen to him tell his stories about the time that he was a pimp. And she said that she was so intrigued by it. She was genuinely entertained by his stories that she started to write them down as he speak. Later on, she typed out the story, and she even looked for a publisher because she knew that it was going to be something big. So she did find a publisher, and it was big. To this day, it's big. But the publisher ended up pimping him, paying him like 5 cents on the book or whatever. Some of the royalty checks was like 100 and something dollars, even though he was selling out constantly. He would get like advancement checks that was like maybe 5 grand or something like that. But the people who was making the most money off of his art, which is bits of his soul, was ripping him off. So after some time, people was interested in interviewing him and all of this. So he started to like travel, and his wife started to feel like unappreciated. He would leave her at home alone with the kids. Um, he was cheating on her. Now, the part that was interesting to me is that even when she looked back at the stories, a lot of times she see herself at fault. She said that she would be the one who start the arguments and all of that, and they would get into these really big fights. but he wouldn't really like fight her back. She would be the one that's being yelling and all of that, which kind of remind me of the narc and the empath dynamic. Cause you know how narcs like they push you to your breaking point and to the point that you explode and then they use that against you. Now, I'm not saying that he was a narc, but I felt like he did have those tendencies and he still operated out of a pimp mentality. His wife also said that before his mother died, she warned her not to marry him because he would mistreat her. And I wanted to get something deeper on that because I noticed that even when his first wife would reflect on things, she still carried like this guilt. She still seemed like a broken woman, especially because she loved him. But even when his daughters was speaking in a documentary, one of the daughters said he had to leave because my mom was crazy. That's what she said. And I could tell she really idolized her daddy. Like she put him on a pedestal. Now the other sister, she was more like she could see both perspectives. Cause when she talked about it, she talked like, my dad, he was a womanizer. He didn't really treat her too good. And my mom, yeah, she was an alcoholic, and yes, she did have anger issues, but it was kind of like understood where it was stemming from, because her mom was depressed for valid reasons. So, hmm, I'm gonna just ask Spirit to reveal more about their relationship dynamic. That I'm gonna ask, like, why did she lose her temper? Look at this. I got the two of wands reverse. Um, I'm hearing cabin fever. She was going crazy being stuck in the house with those kids and like him going off and not like taking her. That really made her mental health decline. Two of cups reverse. She felt like he was pulling away from her, like she started to feel like he didn't love her anymore. After the book started selling, she started to feel like he was falling out of love with her. He also stopped being intimate with her. So for all the cards I pull for her, I'm going to pull his perspective as well. So as he started to like cheat and leave her alone and stuff like that, she did become more of like the Queen of Swords. She started to be more cold, harsh, guarded, because it's next to the Four of Pentacles. So she just was extremely unhappy and she felt like she wasn't appreciated. She felt very underappreciated. I'm hearing like invisible, like she felt like she was invisible to him sometimes. All right, let's get his perspective. So far, like what I'm getting already is that he adopted a traditional mindset because it was beneficial to him. He started to believe like a woman place is at home in the kitchen and stuff like that. As long as he was providing, he didn't really feel like she should complain, but a part of him knew and even empathized with her. So when she was going to leave him, he understood. Um, Also there is like he went through high functioning depression that he didn't really like talk to anybody about it. It's just like he became more disconnected and distant, but he was actually suffering from depression. And it's like something that he would never really talk about. He didn't really know how to talk about the depression to certain people. And he did things to make her guarded because he wanted to cheat. So, like, he would play like these manipulation, mind control games with her because he knew how she would react. And he would use that to his benefit. Like, under this Four of Pentacles, which is cards for her showing, like, how guarded she was, came the King of Wands reverse. So it's like he used that as an excuse to be distant from her. I also felt like he started to feel like maybe he made a mistake getting married and all of that. Like, um, hmm. It was also within a response. Like, sometimes the way that she responded to him made her, made him shut down. He also started to feel like it was taken away from his creativity, but it really wasn't her. It was more so of this depression, this Five of Cups, this, and I just don't feel like it's fully connected to her, even though he might have projected it on her. and she wore it, but it was due to other factors. What is the truth about his depression? Mm. What was going on with his money? I feel like this is around the time that he started to really realize that he was being ripped off. And it's like he had this longing, this itch in him to have more money. But it was like with this temperance here, it was like he felt the itch, but he felt like that was toxic. So it's like it's almost like he tried to deny that longing. It was like he was longing for bits and pieces of that lifestyle, but he knew it wasn't healthy, or that's the way that he perceived it. But it was like it's kind of like a midlife crisis or something. Um, he missed parts of the lifestyle, and he was ashamed of it. Actually, I believe that's why he didn't talk to anybody about his depression, because he didn't want people to know that part. Yeah, he wanted to leave the relationship, but he didn't want to be the one who do it. And so it's like he did things to kind of sabotage it. And he kind of like just let her take the fall. But some of it was like subconscious. At this point, he kind of just wanted to get away from everybody, because I really felt like he was going through a depression. Alright, I'm gonna wrap up this side of the reading. Alright, so I'm about to wrap up this reading. Um, but if you want me to, because I'm thinking about like um doing like a read along, maybe even starting something like a book club. And I was thinking of reading the book and then posting it, but putting it as a live stream or something. And I could just be in the comments with other people and we could kind of like read along, and I could get like y'all perspective. Or I might not do all of that. I might just read segments of the book and then upload it to my YouTube, and then y'all can like comment your opinions and stuff like that. So if that's what y'all want, let me know, or give me some suggestions and everything. But yeah, I really enjoy doing this because he has a very interesting spirit, and I think I'm gonna read like his whole series because I feel like it must be rich with knowledge and perspective. I feel like I'm just going to really enjoy it. So I hope that y'all enjoy and stay blessed.